Hey, what's going on YouTube? I got a request from a viewer who's been very active in my comments, JanBeal12, to take a look at some of the series boss battles in the Vortex, starting with Safer Sephiroth. And so I thought we could do that tonight, taking a look at some teams that can do this pretty safely and easily, as well as talk a little about what helps you to beat this fight. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the Vortex. I'll show you where this is if you've never seen it before. It is at the top of the Nemesis pane, series boss battles, and currently the one at the very top of the list is Final Fantasy VII's Safer Sephiroth. So if we click on it and open it up, it's a difficulty 260 challenge, which is only costing you 30 energy right now. And here's what the strategy Moogle tells you. It's a dangerous foe that can evade physical attacks as well as use powerful magic and instant death attacks. While he's floating, he can evade physical attacks, and he can also unleash his own attacks. So you should focus on defense if you can't go out on the offense. He has a set attack pattern, which we will talk about in just 1 second. So it's best to shift between defending and attacking based on his behavior. And he has relatively low defense, so building a party around physical attacks is your best bet, even though he's going to be avoiding your physical attacks. Cool. So let's take a look at the missions. Complete the quest, use no items to get a Super Trust Moogle Exchange ticket times 10, defeat him with a Limit Burst for a Transcension Pearl, and beat him within 20 turns for 1,000 Lapis. Pretty cool. So, I'm going to do this with a team of 5 units. At this point, a 260 difficulty fight is not too difficult to do damage to, as long as you have all the right requirements in place, but it is kind of hard to defend against if you're not prepared for it. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the 6th party slot open to show you how you can do this with 5. If you need more damage, just add a 5th damage dealer of your choice. And we're going to do this 2 different ways. This is the first team that we're going to be taking. We're going to be taking Beatrix because Jan talked about having Beatrix. Jan also mentioned having Esther. And then I figure if you've got Esther, you've probably got Sylvie too. In fact, Jan did mention having buffs from Sylvie, so we're going to be bringing Sylvie. My Sylvie is EX3, only needs to be EX1 for this composition. Same with Esther. Esther does not need to be EX2. It does help her to have, higher stats, but obviously more is better, but we do overkill Sephiroth by quite a bit on our burst turn. So I don't think you need to be EX2, but obviously the more the better, and having her STMR is very cool. We've also got Mastermind Zahn, who's literally only here to chain Extreme Nova with her. So do not worry about Mastermind Zahn. Just bring anybody else who can chain Extreme Nova. And then Ling is just here for some buffs and some breaks, and just filling LB gauge and stuff like that. Here's what you need in order to survive. Your magic tank, in this case Beatrix, need to have earth and fire resistance of 150 or better without buffs. Because the boss does do imperil spells that reduce your resistances by 50, you need to have more than 100. And 150 minus 50 is 100, so you're good to go as long as you don't have buffs, if you're not relying on buffs to get that high. You also want to have stone, paralysis, confusion, and technically blind immunity too. If your magic tank is blind, it doesn't really matter that much. I gave her all immunity, honestly. As far as buffs you want your team to have, LB damage buffs are good, but not necessary with this particular run. Human killer buff and a fire imbue are very useful. And then as far as breaks go, you can only break his attack and magic, so just a good attack and magic break as well as a nice fire imperil is going to do you good, because this boss is weak to fire naturally. He resists light and dark and then has neutral resistance to everything else, so fire is really your best bet. But we're going to go ahead and get into this, and I'll show you kind of what his rotation is as well. So this boss follows a 5-turn rotation that I'm going to post on the screen. Let's get that music going. Yeah. So he follows a 5-turn rotation that is the same after every 5 turns. And he's going to start out by doing Flare, which is, magic, AoE magic fire times 2. He's going to dispel our party and then hit us with either Break or Shadow Wing. Break is going to turn us to stone. That's magic damage, so your magic tank could get hit by that. And Shadow Wing is just going to blind you. or it's going to either blind or paralyze you. So as long as you're immune to that or have a way of dealing with it, it's not that big a deal. But let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to do. So our first turn here, Ling is going to start us off. And she's going to use disarming movements to break the boss. And then she's going to fill LB gauge twice with Passionate Performance. That's going to get Mastermind Zahn pretty close to full. He's going to get the rest of the way, probably. Sylvie is just in her base form, going to triple cast. She's going to use Burgeoning Defense to put up mitigations for the party. She's going to use Paladin's Resolve to heal Ling back up. And then Compassionate Knight just to boost resistances, and yeah. There we go. We're looking good now. Ling's back to almost full. Beatrix is going to go ahead and get ready. She's in her shift form. She's going to do Provoke and Cover. That way she's covering magic, which is important, and provoking the single target attacks if she can. She is going to get dispelled, but thankfully she also naturally has some Provoke in her kit as well, so hopefully she will just soak up some of those hits. As far as Zahn and Esther, Zahn can do whatever he wants. He's just going to chain 3 times Bolting Strike. And Esther is going to use Energizing Bunny to start powering up Bolting Slice and Calm Before the Storm so that we can take this boss out. Cool. There's Zahn's got his LB. Beatrix is now going to jump in front and cover our incoming fire attacks. There she goes. We do get dispelled. He used Shadow Wing this turn, so somebody's getting blinded. Looks like Ling got blinded, and because Ling does not do any damage in this clear, we really do not care. It's totally fine. So, yeah, Esther did take a little bit of damage, but she's fine. We're going to go ahead and shift Ling, and we're going to triple. She's going to use Dragon Dancer to fill up Zahn the rest of the way if he didn't have it. He does have it, so we're just going to pretend he didn't. We're going to apply a Human Killer buff with Assassin Stance, and then Blaze of the Phoenix to give everybody fire attacks. Zahn's going to use his LB. Esther's going to use her LB. I'm going to use a button to chain them together. Esther's going to go first, which is going to put her field in place, and then Zahn's going to just chain with her. It's going to happen like a split second. If you wanted to do more damage here, and if your Sylvie was EX 1 or higher, you could shift up and use her Shifted Limit Burst if you have it available, or you could use some buffs, or you can contribute to Bolting Strike chaining. You could do all kinds of things. You could also give her like Extreme Nova chaining materia and help let her contribute to the damage. Lots of options. But in this particular clear, the way we've got everybody set up, and I'll show you the gear in just a second, they're going to be fine. And there we go. If we hadn't killed this boss on turn 2, he would counterattack with 2 flares and Imperil Ga and then fly up, which gives him Mirage. The next turn you could remove that and then do some damage to him, because once you remove the Mirage you can hit him. Then on turn 3 he's going to Mirage again, do some AoE magic that Beatrix can cover. The next turn he's going to do Mirage again and then hit you with a really, really nasty move called Pale Horse, which does 300% HP to your whole party. It's probably going to kill your magic cover tank. If you have re-raise on them, they can come back, obviously. And then Dispel you. And then the next turn he's going to use Death, Supernova, which is like Dean but worse, and then Fly Down, which does nothing. So then he's just going to repeat that pattern. So depending on how you're going, you could just kind of make sure you've got your defenses in place to keep you alive on all those turns. You know, as long as Beatrix has HP and Spirit, she's going to do pretty good at covering and mitigating and stuff like that, especially the elemental attacks with her resistances. But I'll go ahead and show you our gear, and then we're going to show you something else. No companion here, please. All right, so here's Beatrix. She spent the whole fight in the shift form, and she's geared like this. So she is wearing Sylvie's sword. If you don't have Sylvie's sword, put on something else for Spirit. This is a quest reward. This is an old STMR. This is a quest reward. These are old STMRs. This is a Neo Visions TMR or STMR, but it's like available in the Obnixis shop from the most recent Clash of Will, so you could get that pretty easily. Old STMR. This is a time-limited event reward, but you could get it with Trust Coins, technically. And then Shield of the Chosen King is an STMR that's also pretty old. And she's just wearing Kresnik's Vision card. Kresnik you could have gotten from several Clash of Wills, or select tickets as an option. You know, so you could have his card pretty easily. And there she is. She doesn't even have that much spirit and HP, but because of her resistances, 180 and 205, she does just fine, as she's got all the ailment resistances we need as well. Notice she's not wearing her own sword. If you have her own sword, it makes her very easy to gear for fire, but she doesn't have to have it. Okay. Sylvie. Honestly, I gave her her own STMR and then her old STMR, like the old original Sylvie. Whatever. She's not really geared super great. You know, she's just got some whatever stuff. She didn't take any damage, and she has the resistances to not really deal with it or worry about it. So she's fine. You know, she doesn't really contribute a whole lot to damage, so her gear is kind of irrelevant, which you'll see in just a second. Esther's important, so she's geared for 300% human killer, 300% LB damage. Didn't even have maxed out true double hand in this run, but she's got a bunch of stuff that is available in the game without having to, you know, pull for TMRs and STMRs, minus her own, of course. Didn't even have full abilities, just has man killer and her own TMR. And then she's wearing Kaito's vision card. Doesn't have to be Kaito's vision card, just whatever high attack vision card you have. Better choices could have been Leave Things to Me vision card, Chizuru's vision card, her own vision card, Knights of Grand Shelt's vision card. Lots of things are going to be better than Kaito's, but Kaito's is pretty good. There we are. So she's got 435% attack, and yeah. Thankfully, she's innately resistant to blind and paralysis, so and stone. So she's got kind of all the immunities that she needs for this fight without having to equip anything special. So even though she got hit by a Shadow Wing, she didn't get blinded, which is pretty cool. All right, let's take a look at Mastermind Zahn here, who chained with Esther with her limit burst, or his limit burst. He's technically geared for evasion, but it does not matter. I mean, he's got Maneater. He's got Human Killer almost maxed out, 275. Didn't even do his LB damage, anything for LB damage. He's just got evasion. His gear does not really matter. Esther totally carried this fight for us. And then Ling, again, is just really geared for evasion and LB fill. It's all she really needs. This is not really that relevant. She filled up her own LB using her, like, abilities. You could have really just take off any of this and it should be fine. So that was like a really, like, kind of like, you know, going a little bit slow clear. We did it in 2 turns instead of 20. Honestly, if you can just survive that turn and then just like counterattack really hard, it's fine. But let's take a look at another clear. This is like 1 turn, we're done. Again, using only 4 units. Chizuru is the best one on the team, so she's geared really well. Everybody else has no equipment. Here's Chizuru's gear. She's got she's only gonna be in the shift form. She's got 10,000 attack with all the Clash of Wills stuff, and then, you know, just man killer, whatever. She's got the Hyo vision card, and we're just gonna do this in 1 turn. This is just for fun. All right. Same basic thing. We can't really break the boss. There's not really any point. So I guess Kaito didn't really even need to come, except for the fact that he's going to give a Katana Imperil. So he's going to go ahead and do that now. There we go. Katana Imperil for Chizuru. Roberta is going to do a party buff. She's going to use a Fire Killer, or a Fire Imbue, whatever. And then Mega Breath. Why not? Sylvie is going to shift and use Leaping Love to do a modifier boost for Chizuru, who's going to chain with her LB and do this all by herself. There we go. And she way overcapped it. You only have to do 1.6 billion damage to kill this guy, and she did 5.3, so she's totally fine. So there's obviously, you know, it's an older trial. It still checks out. There are some difficulties if you can't gear for the earth damage and the fire damage, but you know, if you've got that part covered, doing damage to him is really not too terribly difficult. And there you have it. So with that, that's our first series boss battle that we're going to work on, done. And Jan, I hope that's helpful to you. And we'll see you in the next one, whenever that is. Actually, tomorrow's Tuesday, so that means Tuesday Preppers is coming out. Hopefully you guys can come out and see Tuesday Preppers, or if you want to see my process for Tuesday Preppers, you can come out and watch it live over on Twitch, 9 p.m. Central Time, where we'll be going over the news, going over the units, talking about what's going on, and then going into the game to try and get some killers that are going to help you get ready for next week's content, whatever that may be. But until then, we'll see you in the next video, and you guys be good to each other, take care, and have a great night.